Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good week. I'm here to talk to you about the week 3 assignment. You've spent the first 2 weeks beginning to become familiar with the first stage of the writing process, which is the pre-writing stage. And one of the most important parts of the pre-writing stage is the rhetorical situation. And that is understanding who you're going to be writing about, the topic you're going to be writing, and the context of that topic. Because those aspects or elements of writing are very, very important in any type of written text, whether that's for a class, academically, or professionally. All right. So the writing process has 5 stages: the pre-writing, the drafting, the revising, editing, and then submitting. This week, your week 3 assignment is still part of the pre-writing process, and that is planning and organizing your essay. And then something that's very effective and beneficial is outlining what you're going to write about. So this week is like all other weeks. You have your overview, you have your reading and learning activities, and in the readings is the textbook chapter, which is about planning and outlining. So we're going to look at that in just a minute. And then your discussion. And in your discussion, you're asked to think about something that you've seen written, whether that was an email or a social media post or something else, and then talk about the structure. I actually posted my own discussion post, and I used an example of a social media post that was very impactful to me. And I talk about the structure. And then you're asked to think about what you're going to write and how, based on the rhetorical situation, your audience and the topic, what might be important about how you organize it, to start thinking about this assignment. Now, of course, you had to already look at the summative assessment and think about the topic. First, choose either an email or a narrative essay, and then the topic you wanted to write about. And that's all part of the pre-writing process, which is to generate ideas. And so now, where you're going to take that information and you're going to create an outline. But there are steps to doing that. So we're going to go through that. But first, we're going to take a look at this assignment. Here's the instruction page for your week 3 assignment, which is a summative assessment. And it goes over a little bit about why this matters and how using this part of stage 1 in the writing process can help you organize your ideas to make them more effective and clear to your audience. Of course, this is also the first step in writing a paper, which you're doing. In week 4, you'll be drafting your paper, which is a rough draft. And then in week 5, you'll use revision and editing to complete your final draft. All right. So it starts with the assessment preparation. And that is deciding on the format or what genre of writing you want to complete. And that could be a narrative or an email. So a personal narrative is a short story about yourself, your own experiences. And a professional email is something that you send to a colleague or a supervisor or manager to request something or propose an idea or share some important information. So you're going to choose that. And here are some ideas for you to talk about. If you are going to do a narrative, you can talk about overcoming a challenge, a time you made a big decision, a time you helped someone, or learned something important. And usually in any of these topics, you're going to have learned something from that. You have a point that you're going to be making. And then these are some ideas for an email. But before you start the outline, it's really important to think about this communication, this message that you want to get across to your audience. And the first thing is, what is that main message? What is the takeaway? What is it that you want your audience to learn through your own experience to think about. And then what are the key points that you're going to need to include to support that overall message? What are some examples that you're going to use to help make your points more clear? Very specific details. And then what order? How are you going to organize this writing? What is going to be best to come first to help set the context of this narrative or this email? And then what do you need to put next and what comes after that? And what will be a logical progression of your ideas to make it most clear for your reader? All right, the actual assessment instructions there are two parts. The first is your outline. So your outline is going to include 4 parts, which is your thesis, the central message that you're trying to get across to your reader, your main supporting points that show and support what you're saying, your central messages, the details that you're going to use to support your main points, and then a logical organization, a clear structure. For this outline, you want to use complete thoughts or sentences. This is going to be more helpful for you, and I will be giving you some feedback as well. And so you want to make sure your thesis statement is a complete statement, the point of your paper, and your main points are complete sentences. I don't mind if each supporting detail is not a complete sentence. And we'll look at an example in a little bit. This is an outline template, and I have that right here. So let me show you what that looks like. So you don't need to have your introduction completed, but you do need to have the thesis. What are you trying to communicate? So you'll have a complete sentence of your point, and then you'll have a complete sentence for your first supporting idea, your first main point. And then you have your supporting details. These don't have to be complete sentences. And then your next main point, complete sentence, 3 supporting details, and the main point and supporting details. And again, I'll show you in just a minute. All right, let's look. Now, in your textbook on page 64, it also goes over creating a formal outline. Textbook, which has a lot of very good information, it's chapter 3 called Arrangement, and it's all about organizing and then outlining a paper. But it has a lot of information about types of organizations, like the narration, and then it goes into understanding the parts of the essay, and it goes into more depth into the thesis statement, body paragraphs, and your conclusion. So it talks about the introduction, gives you examples with thesis statements at the end, and then it goes into the body paragraphs, and it has examples which include the topic sentences, the first sentence, which are the main idea or main point of that paragraph, and talks more about that. How to use transitional words and phrases, very important within paragraphs and between them. Types of support that you could use. Another example for you to look at. And then I really like this section on page 60 because it gives you a thesis statement example with 3 topic sentences for 3 body paragraphs. And then the concluding thesis statement, which is a restatement of the thesis. So this is a great way to start an outline. The thesis statement, body paragraph, body paragraph, body paragraph, because then you can add the supporting details to each of your topic sentences. And remember, in your outline, these are the ones that have to be complete sentences. The thesis statement and your topic sentence for each body paragraph. Some more information, the conclusion, and then you come to the last section, and this is outlining, how to construct a formal outline. Okay, so you can read through this, how to construct it, some more information, a checklist, and an example. Now, of course, yours is going to have not only the thesis statement as a complete sentence, but each body paragraph topic sentence as a complete sentence. And the second part is the rationale, which is your reflection. Of course, you want to proofread and edit carefully and use your grammar and style checker on your Word or use Grammarly. But there's also some more resources for you here. Example outline that I created of a narrative essay. But here is the thesis statement, and it is a complete sentence. It is the roadmap of your paper, and it is the so what of your paper. It's the message or main point you're trying to get across to your audience. And this is a complete sentence. Although I entered college confident about some subjects, my first philosophy assignment, though overwhelming, challenged my assumptions about learning and ultimately changed how I viewed education, writing, and my future career. And it's a roadmap because it's also the structure of the paper. So the beginning of the paper is going to talk about how overwhelming it felt and some of these assumptions about learning. It's going to go into, I should say, how it changed, how they viewed education, and then how they viewed writing, and then their future career. So let's take a look. So this is the complete sentence, the body paragraphs, and the supporting points. Each body paragraph supports one aspect, hopefully in the same order of the thesis. This is just the topic. I just put a topic here. This is the first body paragraph main point, topic sentence, the full, but the main point of this paragraph. So at the beginning of the philosophy class, okay, so this is his first philosophy assignment. That was overwhelming. I felt overwhelmed by the abstract nature of the assignment and uncertain about how to succeed. And then the supporting details that this author will write about to support this topic sentence are not having any clear right answers, like in math, that there was not a lot of professor guidelines. And then the writer had a lot of anxiety about interpreting Camus, who is a philosopher, incorrectly. And then it goes into this struggle but growth process during the writing process, which is in the thesis statement, challenging his assumptions about how he viewed education and writing. And the main point of the second body paragraph is, as I worked through the assignment, I struggled to find my voice, but gradually developed confidence through persistence and writing strategies. And then he used supporting details, multiple close readings and note-taking, use of pre-writing strategies, continued uncertainty while completing the draft, right? But these are all what helped him as he started to work on his writing and learning. And then the third body paragraph, the third main point, the topic sentence, receiving positive feedback on the paper validated my efforts and reshaped my academic and career goals. And this goes back to the final part of the thesis statement. Changed his future career. And the supporting details are that, right, he received positive feedback, he earned an A and received encouraging comments. It increased his confidence and sense of capability. And ultimately, it shifted him from engineering to law and a new view of education. And then the conclusion. You do not have to have a conclusion, but this is the structure of the conclusion assignment. So I'm going to be posting them. Actually, I'll post them in the announcement where I will put this video. And then, of course, as always, if you have any questions about any of this, reach out to me. I'm happy to help.